Welcome to this latest episode of the Down the Pub podcast. What an incredible window it's been for Canada. Three games played, three games won, no goals conceded, beat the US. Doesn't get much better than that. You can almost feel that scorching heat from Qatar on your face. The Canadians are so close, so congratulations to the Canadian team. I'm going to jump on the bandwagon because Ireland had an awful qualification. So go Canada, go. On this week's show, I'm joined by Atletico Ottawa's new midfielder Ollie Bassett. Me and Ollie just have a chat about the move to Ottawa, which just came as a bit of a surprise because he had a pretty good season with Pacific last year. So I was surprised to see him to move. So we look at the hows and whys in behind the move. We take a little look at last season and how it went for Ollie. In the last call section of the show, I'm joined by a long-time Tottenham fan and technical director of Suburban FC here in Halifax, Ollie Hewish. We take a look at Tottenham's transfer window. We have a chat about Daniel Levy and his shenanigans, and we also kind of look at where Tottenham need to go to kind of get themselves back on track a little bit. Me and Ollie are also members of Nova Scotia Spurs. It's a new Tottenham supporters club here in Nova Scotia. So if you are a glutton for punishment like me and Ollie, reach out to the group and become a member. You can find them on Twitter at Halifax Spurs, and it's also on Facebook. Just search for Nova Scotia Spurs and join the group. If you want to follow the show on social media, it's at Down the Pub Pod on Instagram and the Twitter. If you want to give us a review and 5 stars on Apple Podcast, that would be absolutely amazing. And also, if you can go to Spotify, if you're a Spotify person, I don't know how you sit on the fence with the whole Joe Rogan thing, but if you are a Spotify user, if you can use a 5-star review, that would also be amazing. And there is merch available with the new logo at redbubble.com. Just search for Down the Pub Pod and you'll see mugs, t-shirts, all that kind of guff. So on with the show, my friends. And here's Ollie and Ollie. Cheers. I am joined at the bar by Atletico Ottawa's new signing, Ollie Bassett. Welcome to the show, Ollie.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're back in the UK right now, so with the kind of longer Canadian off season, how are you keeping fit, and how are things back home?
Yeah, things are good. I came back just before Christmas, kind of 15th, 16th of December. So I kind of used the time that I came back until Christmas just to like spend with family and friends and stuff like that. And then I've just been kind of doing my own thing, training and stuff as of January the 1st. So haven't been playing any games since I've been back. Really just been doing individual stuff and then training a few times a week with the team. And then I play futsal once a week, one game a week, just to stay on top of like the technical side of it. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've been doing for the last few weeks now.
So when you're playing futsal, is it like a competitive or is it just like a kind of pick-up game? Because I'm just wondering if somebody might be like, okay, here's Bertie Big Bollocks, who he plays a professional, you know what I mean, and just like leave it.
So I used to play. I used to play when I was younger, all the way until I was about 15, 16.
Wow.
So I haven't played futsal in years now, just from like going to different clubs and living in different countries and stuff. But yeah, since I've been back, I just joined the old team that I used to play for, and that's just like a national league in England. So that's a game every Sunday, just 20-minute halves, and yeah, I've just been doing that. Me and my brother both playing the same team, so yeah, we've just been playing that every week, and it's good actually just to play indoors again and like get touch on the ball, and yeah, it's something I really enjoy doing. So.
Nice. So as you mentioned, you've made the move to Ottawa from Pacific. So what was it about the project in Ottawa that kind of attracted you to make the move?
Yeah, I think Fernando kind of spoke to me and my agent after the last game of the season against Forge, and kind of just told me their kind of plans for the club and for myself and stuff like that. And yeah, I think it's a new city. It's they've got the connection with Atletico Madrid, and just from what I've been told, it's pretty well run and professional club. So yeah, I think they offered me a slightly longer contract than what I was maybe expecting to get, and I think that was obviously definitely a benefit and kind of a selling point for me to go there. But I think ultimately I'm just trying to use it to kind of play more minutes and play more regularly and really show what I can do over these next 2-3 years.
That was actually one of my questions. Like, was having the security of, I think you signed a 2 year plus the option. Like, a lot of players don't have that luxury in Canada. Like, that must have been like a huge selling point for you, really.
Yeah, I think so. I think up until this point in my career, like not just with Pacific, but just in general, I've kind of been on, short-term contracts and, year by year. So I think to have like a little bit of extra security, 2 years, and then, if you play well in the 2 years, you have an option for 24 as well. I think it gives you something to, really work towards, I guess. And, if you knuckle down and, put the work in, then, hopefully we can have a good 2-3 years together. So yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to it.
Also gives you the chance, I guess, to like settle down a little bit, because I mean, like, you've moved around so much. I mean, like, you're in New Zealand, you're different clubs in England. Like, that just, it must be just nice to have the thought of that you can actually like get an apartment and just like it's yours. You don't have to like worry about packing your bags and moving again.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that is something that maybe people don't really think about too much in terms of people that are maybe on the outside looking in. And but I think as a player, it's something that's definitely like beneficial. I think if you're comfortable like off the pitch and stuff like that, and I think and you're not worrying too much about stuff outside of the pitch or the training pitch. I think that definitely has an impact, kind of on your performances and your your standards day in, day out. So yeah, I think to have that security and that kind of knowing that I have 2, maybe 3 years with the same club, I think that was, like I said, definitely a big reason and one of the main factors in signing for Ottawa.
So on the flip side of that, obviously Ottawa don't have a manager right now. The thing is, you won't know what the system is. You won't know what way the new manager is going to want to play and stuff like that. Like, so did that kind of play in your mind a little bit, that you're going to be like basically coming in cold because nobody knows like what the new manager wants to do?
Yeah, I think there's obviously pros and cons to everything, really. Ideally, in an ideal world, the manager would have been, sorted, and I could have, had a chat with the manager myself, like I did before coming to Pacific with Pa. But I think, now the manager's, not been announced. I think when he does come in, everyone's kind of starting from scratch. So I guess, everyone's, got to prove to the manager, whoever that may be, the reason why they should be playing, or, the reason why, they should be in the team. So, I think maybe everyone being on the same kind of level playing field in that respect, it could work, in your favor as well. So I think it's just about putting the work in and really like showing and demonstrating why you should be on the pitch.
Nice. So you obviously were playing with Pacific last year. So you're in England. How did that move come about to come to Canada? Like, was it a call out of the blue, or is your agent that good that they got you to move to Canada?
Honestly, it was pretty. I wasn't expecting it like at all. To be fair, so the agent that I'm with now, my agent, I've been with him the last 2 or 3 years now. I got in contact with him when I was first playing in New Zealand. So I went to New Zealand for 2.5 years, and I was actively looking to try and get something in Canada. And then it wasn't until I came back to the UK in 2020 when COVID started hitting and stuff like that. And I actually had a deal lined up to go and play in Iceland in the top division
Nice.
over there. Around a similar time, the thing with Pacific came up. So I was due to go there early 2021. And I was pretty much, very kind of set, and, I was pretty focused on heading out there to play in Scandinavia. But, Josh, my agent, called me, must have been, middle of December, completely out of the blue. And he kind of said, Pacific are interested in signing you. Like, would you be interested in going over? And then he set up a few phone calls with Pa, and it really just went from there, and the deal was done, fairly quickly after that. So yeah, I wasn't expecting it at all. To be fair, I didn't have a clue it was coming.
So, do you have a thing for the cold? Iceland, I mean, kind
Yeah,
of.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, obviously, I didn't know what Iceland would be like. To be fair, I just wanted to, because I think at this point I wanted to try and get back into playing full time, because my time in New Zealand was mainly kind of amateur and semi-professional. That move came off the back of playing in England, and I kind of wanted to get out of the UK for a little bit. So that's why I decided to go to New Zealand and experience something a little bit different. But then I think after playing there for a few years, I think I was ready to hopefully get back into playing, professionally, and they were the two options pretty much that I had, back end of 2020.
So, like you said that you had a few conversations with Pi. He's a very enigmatic figure, like he's obviously had a big move now down to North Texas. So what's he like on the day to day? Like, I mean, like because he built like such a great bond between all you guys. Like, so I just imagine just being like crazy because he's got like a really outgoing personality. What's he like on the day to day, and what's a training session like with Pat?
Yeah. Firstly, I think his like kind of man management is very good in terms of like, managing the player, but then also getting to know the player as like a person before, a footballer, and kind of understanding, how they are off the pitch, or like, how they are with their family, all that sort of stuff, the little things that maybe some other managers might not do. So I think he really understands you as a person, and, what type of personality or an individual you are, maybe before a player. And then I think day in, day out, he just wants the training to be kind of as high intensity as possible. He wants everyone to, enjoy the sessions, but kind of enjoy, putting the work in and working hard. So I think that's what he lived by, the time he was at Pacific. And I think he certainly, I hope he made me a better footballer while I was there. And I think, yeah, I'll always be kind of grateful to Pa, because, if it wasn't for him, then I might not have had the opportunity to come and play in Canada. So things may have been different. So yeah, I have nothing really bad to say about him, and yeah, I wish him all the best.
Nice. So last year, your first year in Canada, you kind of started off great guns in the in the bubble. I mean, like, you scored your first game against Halifax. Boo. So so like, how was that? The bubble obviously was, like, I'm sure it was terrible having to live it like that way with the heat and all that kind of stuff. But how did you find, like, quickly adapting to the game here like that quickly? It was like you've been playing here like for 2 years.
Yeah, I think firstly coming obviously to Canada in general, like to the CPL, I knew that it would be kind of a step up from New Zealand and what I was used to, the last 2.5 years. But yeah, again, I think I was surprised at, how, competitive maybe the league was, considering the league's only been going 3 or 4 years. I think the standard and the quality of some of the players is surprisingly, like, very good. And then obviously the bubble, it was my first time kind of starting the season in that kind of like environment. And I think obviously it's not ideal and it's not what we're used to, but it was a new experience for me and some of the other, new players into the league. And at the time it might have been, tough, physically and mentally, but I think looking back, they're memories that will, like, kind of stay with you forever and stuff. Hopefully it doesn't happen again, but it was something that we had to get on with. And yeah, luckily I played a few games, and we started well as a team, and we just tried to carry the form that we had in the bubble kind of into the regular home and away market.
So have you ever played in that kind of like heat before, like where it was like, was it like, there was one day, like, I think it was 35-40 degrees, and that they try and move games to the nighttime, and the smoke thing was happening, the wildfires? Have you ever played in that kind of environment before?
Maybe not that environment. I've played in similar heat, obviously in New Zealand and stuff, especially on turf as well. I think it's even worse on turf when you're playing in that sort of heat. But yeah, with the fires and that sort of stuff, probably not. But maybe a few times in the heat and the sun, but not as often as I would have in the bubble, that's for sure.
So scoring in your first game against Halifax, like pretty much a perfect start. But what was going through your head when that goal went in, and you kind of had that like adrenaline rush? Like, what was it like for you?
Yeah, I think just from what I can remember, the ball kind of like got cleared out or something to the edge of the box, and then I just like took a touch, and then I heard a couple guys just say shoot, and I just thought I'll try. I'll try my luck from that far out, and luckily it went in. I didn't actually see the ball go in until I kind of heard it hit the back of the net. So yeah, it was obviously a good feeling. That was my first kind of proper like professional goal. So yeah, it's definitely like one that I'll probably never forget. Amazing.
So you played like 20 games, I think, when I looked it up earlier on for Pacific League last year. Were you surprised at the amount of game time you were given, and how hard is it when you've got players like Manny Aparicio and guys like that, like biting at your heels the whole time? Like, there was a lot of competition. Is that a good thing for you, or like how do you cope with that?
Yeah, I think certainly it's a good thing for the players and the management and the club in general. I think if you want to be like successful and win things, you need to have not just 11 good quality players, but you need maybe 18, 20. So everyone's always pushing each other in training every day, and you kind of know that if you're not performing or not playing well, then there's someone sitting on the bench or not in the squad ready to take your place. And yeah, I think it's just up to you as a player to perform to the best of your ability when you're playing. And I think over the course of the season, the guys that were playing, they didn't really dip out of form too much, so it's very hard for a manager to change a winning team and kind of change something that's working. So if it's working, then kind of why change it? And in the end, it ultimately paid off from going all the way and kind of winning the whole thing.
I think you had like a little bit of an injury. I think you were out for a couple of weeks. Like, do you feel like that kind of set you back a little bit? Because sometimes when you come out of the team, because you were playing like pretty much every game, and then you kind of like towards the end you were kind of missing a couple of games here and there. Do you think that kind of set you back a little bit in your game time?
Yeah, maybe looking back, I think it might have had, or it definitely had, some sort of an effect. Not really want to make too many excuses, so I don't want to blame it purely just on that. I think you have to take responsibility sometimes for yourself and look at yourself before trying to find little excuses for why you weren't playing. But yeah, I think I was out for maybe 4 or 5 weeks with that, and then came back from that. Obviously took a little bit of time to get back into the swing of things, and then I played here and there. I think the game at home against Calgary, and then a few other games after that, but maybe just couldn't really get back into the full swing of things like I was at the start of the season. And yeah, I think that's pretty much what happened. That was the story of the second half of the season for myself. But I have no complaints. Can't really look back in disappointment and stuff like that, especially after being part of a squad that won the CPL. So you can never really complain too much about that.
So where'd you keep the medal?
Do you know what? When I came back, the Christmas tree was up. The Christmas tree was up. So my mum put it straight on the Christmas tree.
Oh,
but when she took the tree down, it's just on like a kitchen side table at the minute. I'm probably gonna get it. I'm probably gonna get it framed. I've got a few shirts and stuff like that framed, so I think the medal will be the next one to kind of get framed. And yeah, I'll keep that one at home.
I can just imagine you're like looking for your phone or your keys or something, and your mad is saying to you like, "Hey, it's in the kitchen beside the medal."
yeah, probably. Yeah, everyone that comes in, everyone that comes in, just have a look. Here's the medal. Here you go. But yeah, it's downstairs. But no, I think definitely it's gonna get framed and kept somewhere in the house for sure.
So I had Josh Herd on just before Christmas, just after Christmas, I think, and he was talking about the reception you guys received when you got back to BC and stuff like that. Like for yourself, like how cool was that to come off the plane and all the fans were there and the celebrations and stuff like that went with everything?
So, so I didn't actually go back after the final.
Really?
So so a few of the boys that were like, the final was in Hamilton, near Toronto. So a few of the Toronto guys kind of stayed after the final, and then obviously went straight home from there instead of going all the way back to BC to then go all the way back home. So I did the same because my girlfriend lives in Ottawa, which is obviously Ontario as well. So I stayed after the final, and then stayed with her for a little bit before going back to the UK. So I didn't actually fly back with the boys back to BC, but yeah, I saw videos and pictures and stuff like that on Twitter and Instagram. So yeah, I think the support they received obviously back home, coming out of the airport must have been, pretty cool. And yeah, we're just glad that we could have, we were able to kind of put the work in over the course of the season and then, deliver them the trophy at the end. So yeah, it was really cool.
I think what you should do is talk with the Lakeside boys. When Ottawa goes to Pacific, they should have some of the fans there waiting for you. You come out with your medal, and they kind of have the whole thing for you. So
yeah, we'll see. I'll get in touch with them.
So the celebrations afterwards, like in the dressing room, all looked incredible. Like it was what was the emotions like in the dressing room afterwards? Like it just looked like it was a lot of fun, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, I think like as soon as the whistle went, the final whistle, it was just like, I think 9-10 months of work. For me, it just felt like all the work during the season and pre-season and winning games, losing games, getting injured, all that sort of stuff personally just kind of paid off, even though I wasn't part of the final. But I was just obviously delighted for all the players and the boys and the coaching staff that had been, part of the journey since the start. So I think it was, just pure kind of emotion after the game. And then, we did the kind of trophy celebration thing on the pitch and then into the changing room after the game. And they'd put all like plastic around the lockers and stuff like that. So when you pop the champagne, like no one's phones and clothes get wet. So yeah, we just stayed in there, celebrated for 10-15 minutes, and then went straight downtown. Well, not straight downtown, but went back to the hotel first.
Everybody banging a sweat. Man, that does that's something that you don't really see too much of, like back home when it comes to like
yeah.
Like you don't really get to see, and it's a big thing here. And I think it's great for the fans to see like how much it means to you guys to be able to actually do it. And you should never diminish the part you played in. You had a huge part in their season. So it sounds like you're not leaving Pacific with any regrets. It sounds like it was kind of like a mutual thing, but like, was there the option to stay in Pacific, or were you always kind of look, because you said your girlfriend lives in Ottawa, so was that always something playing on your mind?
Yeah, well, I had my meeting with Pa and stuff like that at the end of the season, and we kind of spoke about my kind of current situation towards the end of the season, and by the time next season starts, I'll be 24, so I need to be ideally playing more games and playing more regularly than I was last year. So that was always going to be in the back of my mind, kind of going into the meeting. But they left the door open. They had an option kind of in my contract to keep me if they wanted to keep me. So they kind of, like I said, left the door open for me to come back. But I just felt it was the right time to kind of move on and try and play, more regularly somewhere else, and really try and show everyone, next year what I can do in this league. But yeah, I don't think there's no better way to maybe leave a club than, just winning the league and then leaving on kind of a note like that. So yeah, I don't have any bad feelings or intentions towards Pacific or the coaching staff there. I'll always be kind of grateful for the opportunity for bringing me to Canada. And yeah, I'm just hoping now I can, use these next few seasons to really kick on.
Ottawa obviously finished like last year. Are you expecting like things to push on? Like, I mean, like that day you got signed, they signed 6 players and they brought Kevin Alleman in, and they did a bunch of like really decent professionals they brought in. So are you expecting the squad to kick on this year?
Yeah, I think so. I think with the team that we've currently got, I don't think it's like finalized in terms of the signings and stuff like that, but just from the players that they kept last year, and then obviously the new boys that they're they're adding in. I think firstly it will take time for guys to get to know each other's like personalities and stuff like that, and how we play on the pitch. So it's going to take us time to kind of gel and stuff like that. But I think with the actual individual kind of quality that we've got, and from what I've seen the other guys in the league, what they can do, I think we're confident that we can kind of have a successful year together, and hopefully together we can kind of push the club closer to where it wants to be.
So my last question, but one. So you're like in Canada, you play a lot of games close together. Like it's pretty grueling. I mean, especially like last year when you had like the bubble and then straight back out on the road and stuff like that. So how are you finding like coping with that? Because obviously you're playing on turf, as you mentioned, so it's a harder surface, so it's gonna affect your joints and stuff like that. And you're going from playing on grass in England. So how are you finding that many games like cramped together?
Yeah, I think the obviously one of the main reasons why there was so many games last year is probably because the season kind of got pushed back, and they wanted to get it finished by the end of November, start of December. So I think because it got delayed, that was probably one of the main reasons why we were kind of playing every 3 or 4 days. So last year it was kind of a case of playing a game, recovering, traveling either to or from where we need to play, maybe train, and then play again. And that was kind of our schedule for the majority of the season. So I'm fingers crossed, and I'm probably speaking on behalf of a few other players, or the majority of players in the league. If the league kind of can start on time, or the start of April, I think it will kind of give us a full kind of season. So what I mean by that is maybe a full week of training, like a normal week of training, and then playing your game on the weekend with maybe a midweek game. And I think that'll be kind of very beneficial, and I think that would even take the standard up even higher, because you're kind of not playing so many games in such a short period of time. Obviously not making any excuses, because it's the same for kind of every team, but I just think if we have like a full proper week of training leading up to a game, I think it will only do kind of good things for the quality of the football in 2022.
And it's also going to help like with injuries, because I mean, if you're playing every 3 or 4 days, you don't get that recovery time, especially if you're going jumping on a plane for there's no really close teams. It's like for Halifax, the closest is like Ottawa, and it's like a 3-hour flight away. So it's kind of I think that definitely the players need that, and I hope that when they do release the schedule, they've kind of factored all that kind of stuff into it. So my last question before I let you go, man, you're going to play in a 5-a-side tournament. From the players you've played with, who makes your team?
Players I've played. Do I have to include myself, or?
It's up to you, buddy.
Oh, players I played with. All right. I'll have a one goalie, and then a defender, 2 midfielders, and an attacker.
Boom.
So I'll go for in goal. I'll go Callum Irvin. Yeah. I rate Callum very, very highly. Actually, his kicking and distribution is probably one of the best that I've played with, for sure.
Was it travesty he wasn't named as one of the nominations for the goal of last year? I don't understand it, but hey,
when that came out, I think a few of the boys were kind of surprised at that as well.
Yeah. Anyway.
That's the funny one. Defensively, I'll go Lucas. Just signed to TFC. I think he's got all the attributes to really kick on and play, perform well in the MLS. So I think I'll take him in defense.
That's like that move for him is amazing, and I think that it's a sign of how the CPL is working, that he's probably a player that would have just been, you wouldn't have been noticed, to be honest. I know he's going to be playing in the MLS, so it shows the league works. So
absolutely, yeah, for sure. Midfield. If I had to put myself in with someone else, I would go Josh Sheehan. So I used to play with this guy. He was, when I was at Yeovil, he came on loan from Swansea, and I think now he plays for the Wales national team, and he plays for Bolton in League One. Nice. And he's a top player. Yeah, he's a very, very good footballer. So I put him in midfield. And then if I wasn't including myself, I'll go another boy from back home that you've probably not heard of, but Jack Clark. And he was with me at Villa in the academy, and he's now playing for Chesterfield in the National League. But again, very, very good, like technically very good on the ball. So go them two maybe in midfield, and then up front. That's a tough one. That's tough. I'll go Tavon Campbell. Isn't again, when I was at Yeovil, he was on loan from West Brom, and I think he's just signed for Rochdale in League One, so he's playing Football League. But again, he was a good forward, very tricky, quick. So yeah, I'd put him up top probably.
Nice. So can you just recap your team for me?
Yeah, so Callum in goal, Lucas as the defender. I'd go Josh and myself, or Josh and Jack Clark in midfield, and then Tavon up front.
Amazing. That's a pretty sick team, man. I wish one day I could get all of these teams together, because like some of the teams that people have come up with is incredible. So I just want to say, like, best of luck with this season coming forward, man. Good luck in Ottawa. Hopefully I'll get to see you in Halifax and boo you a few times and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, man. Thanks for doing this. I really appreciate it. And enjoy the rest of your night.
All good. Thank you for having me. You too.
All right, Desperados, last call.
I'm being serious. No, you see, I'm talking facts here. I don't do if, buts and maybes. I do absolutes. And, you know, like, if your aunt had balls, she'd be your uncle. But she doesn't, so she's not. You know what I'm trying to say?
What are you talking about? United couldn't mount a challenge even at the end of the game there when we're chasing them. It was just absolutely pathetic from Manchester United. It was absolutely pathetic today.
So, welcome to this section of the show, the last call, our new section where we talk to regular folks, although today's guest isn't regular. Today I've got Ollie Hewish, who's the technical director of Suburban FC in Halifax, and we're going to talk some Tottenham. Welcome to the show, Ollie.
Perfect. Thanks for having me, Anthony.
Really excited to start crying now in a couple of minutes talking about Tottenham. So I kind of wanted to just talk a little bit about the players we brought in and stuff like that. So we brought in Dejan Kulusevski and Rodrigo Bentancur. So what are your thoughts about the players we've signed?
Yeah, I think the two type of players that have been needed, two type of guys that they fit Conte's system. I don't know if we would have all said that they were top 1 and 2 choices, especially with some of the big names they were linked with. But the more I kind of do my homework on it, as well as you do with the Googling, as Danny Rose said, the more I think it fits what Conte needs in comparison to who's going out. It's a different profile, but I think it's a Conte profile, and I think it's a needed Tottenham profile. We'll say that as well. So
do you think this is going to change the kind of system that he has right now? Like, he's going to change it up a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, Bentancur especially, I think I've had a lot of questions around me. Where does he fit in that trio of midfield that's been playing? But I think they're more suited to Conte's system. Like, if you look at his previous teams, you've always had those box-to-box midfielders where Tottenham has more predominant I'd say a couple sixes and skip and winks, and even Højbjerg as well. But I think all three of them have had to be playing as more of an 8 in the last couple of weeks. So I think Bentancur can fit that profile. I think Skip's been doing it, and I know Højbjerg does it for Sweden. But I think they all fit the profile, and hopefully it should. Don't want to change the system too much because I know he's not ever going to move away from it, but I think it suits him a bit more as well.
Yeah, I definitely think that like we've basically had the same type of player, Winks, Højbjerg, and Skip just playing in that system. We've kind of missed having, I guess, the old Dele Alli role of like that kind of free roaming midfielder who can play a pass in behind. So do you think that's what Bentancur can bring to the team?
Yeah, 100%. I think if you look at that, especially going back to that way Conte plays, I think you have to adapt the system. The Poch days of Eriksen's and Dele Alli's roaming around and having that stay-at-home security of two holders, and whether it was Wanyama, Dembele, and obviously the get-out-jail-free card with Kyle Walker and Danny Rose. I think those days have gone. So I think and I think the Premier League's changed as well. The demand, I know it sounds stupid, 2 or 3 years, but the league changed. The demands on the midfielder is night and day what it used to be. So I think, the roles have had to adapt, and I think this suits especially the team now without the some of the names of previous seasons. And I think it's one to watch, I'd say.
So where does Kulusevski fit into all of this? Like what type of player is he, and where do you see him sliding into the formation?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a few different games from him, whether it was with his national program or with Juventus. And I know especially before he had a couple injuries and when he was young player of the year and everything, he sits honestly in a Conte system. I think anywhere in that front three. And I think if you look at the front three, whether it's Son, Kane, Lucas, and Bergwein, when he came in, they kind of had a free central role. Conte allows lots of interchange and runs from deep. So I think he just sits in that front three wherever it is, obviously around more of a statue in Kane with kind of where he's coming, and then just operate where he wants to operate. I know previously comes out, his preference anyway was to go out wide on the right and come in. But wherever he kind of sees fit in the system, I'd say.
And do you think that he's got some goals in him?
Oh, let's hope so. Let's hope so. No, he seems hungry. He's an attacker, and I know even in the interviews he's been saying he just wants goals. He wants to score for the club. That's his kind of ambition. Where I think there isn't really, outside of Kane and Son, there's no ruthless goal scorer in it. So I think anyone that's got a hunger for goal, and at the end of the day, if you're an attacker, that has to be number one in your head, right? So I think that will bring something different to the team, which we don't really have right now.
So obviously, like one of the players I was talking about leaving that stayed because he had a little bit of a renaissance in the last week or two, or the last couple of weeks, is Stephen Bergwein. So do you see him becoming a regular now, or do you see him like just still doing the backup thing, or like how do you see Stevie B fitting into everything?
I like Stevie B. I like he's dynamic. He's multi-dimensional. He can play in behind, play to feet. Confidence has been dead for him, I think, over the last few seasons, especially with injuries and in and out of teams, different managers. And I think obviously there was some time where he had a couple extra pounds on that he had to shed off. But I think he's someone that can, like Conte said, he's a special player and that there's no one really else like him in the system. Lucas Moura is probably the only one like him in the sense of he's quick feet, quick in spaces. But I do think that Bergwein could become a regular. Maybe it's like the Sun role of the early days where he came on second half, kind of understood that it would change the dynamics of the game. But I think he does need to take his role on with the club now, because he's clearly someone special, especially if they turn down the money that the rumors were anyway that Ajax were saying. So
yeah, like I was kind of happy. I feel like he's never had a kind of proper run of games or a proper like a proper go at it. Like I feel like he's always kind of like been on the periphery of it, and like it's kind of that game was the game that you needed, like those 2 goals against Leicester. But I think as well, like another revelation this season has been Lucas Moura in this new system. Like do you see him starting to come in with more goals as well? Because like I think that's one of our big issues, is that when Kane and Son are out, where do the goals come from? It's been a problem for a while now. But do you think that like Lucas will start playing like more in the role that he's in, and do you see him bagging in some goals too?
Yeah, 100%. I think the way Lucas Moura has had to play under, whether it's quote unquote defensive Mourinho, Nuno, don't even want to get into, and now with Conte, I think he's had to change his role. He's gone from at PSG, he was traditionally a right midfielder in an 4-4-2 at some point, playing out wide, kind of isolated, using those skills. But as he's adapted into more of a 10, an attacking midfield, I think he's going to get the opportunities. I think he's a lovable guy, a lovable player, right? But I think with these midfielders now that can hopefully give a bit more to him to allow him to stay up the pitch, and that's the same with Sonny and Kane. I think they'll be able to provide it for him, so he doesn't have to come deep. He can kind of focus on that piece he just said, on that attacking thing side of it. So I think these moves will benefit him just as much as anyone else.
Yeah, like he posted like yesterday he was at the club for 4 years, and being honest, like after the first little bit, it felt like he wasn't going to be here for that long, and he's just a guy that just gives it all. And I think that's the type of player that Ndombele wasn't, like Lucas is a really skillful player, but he was willing to do a job that probably he never expected to be doing at Tottenham, where he's like tracking back and doing that kind of stuff. So Speaking of on Dombley, what do you think of the move like to loan him out and potentially get, was it 60 million euros for him or something like that? So
yeah, I think 65. I think upwards of. Yeah,
so,
mad money.
What did you think of that?
Oh, I think you just hit the nail on the head. I think the way Lucas is compared to a player like Ndombele is, he may not have the more potential and skillful and kind of the flair of him, but I think he's a Tottenham player at the end of the day. He leaves it all out on the pitch, and like for a club that recently hasn't had as much success silverware wise, I think that's all that we want to see. We want to see you put the effort in, care for the badge. Like, you see how much he loves the club. When he posted that 4 years thing, I thought it was a goodbye message at first. And as soon as I opened it, my chest kind of stopped a little bit. But obviously, like, recent moments, especially for me anyway, like obviously Amsterdam, Ajax, that was a special one. So when in Lucas Moura terms, like, that's the player you want to leave it all for the club. And Ndombele just wasn't that. You could see after Pochettino, he wasn't playing, like, eyebrows were raised. Mourinho, eyebrows were raised. Ryan Mason was even dropping him for other players. So I think at the end of the day, the people try to kind of frame it away from him. The guy obviously has attitude problems, didn't want to be there, didn't want to train. Well, they said his fitness was atrocious. But you saw those moments of brilliance, right? So he's still young. He's 24, I think it is now. So his career's not by finish, and maybe one day he can come back and play for Tottenham again, but he needs to change his game around. He's obviously, we can see how good he is, and you see him when he's in the French national team. Before, again, he was dropped for people raising questions why, but there's obviously a theme going on. But yeah, 65 million, if they can get that for him, then great. But if he doesn't prove himself in the next few months, Leon's not going to put up with it either, right? So it's a shame, because I was obviously one of his biggest fans when he came in, because I'd seen him playing against Man City in Champions League. I remember that absolutely running the midfield. And obviously it was kind of that era, Poch's end with Lo Celso, obviously another disappointing one going out. But when those two came in, I thought it was a replacement for Eriksen, for Dembele, but didn't cut it in the end. So disappointing. Yeah,
I mean, like, Ndombele has been like a disaster, to be honest. Like, I think it was in the Mourinho, like, when the Tottenham documentary with Amazon, where Ndombele was like talking about potentially wanting to leave, he's homesick and all that kind of stuff. And it just seems like he's never settled in the squad. Like, obviously Tottenham themselves haven't helped things by having like 4 managers in the space of time he's been there, but you know, it's just his attitude. Like, the coming off against Morecambe, like, I mean, like, he had an awful game against Morecambe. Like, it's Morecambe, you know, like, he should be running the game. And to see the way he trudged off just kind of said it all, and you could kind of tell that was him pretty much done. So as you mentioned, we got, like, Lo Celso's gone. I'll get on to Delhi in a second. So one of the big things from this window is that we need to move to Deadwood, as people have been kind of calling them. We've got rid of 4, we brought in 2. So do you think the squad is kind of a little bit light with the amount of with the players we've let out? But on the flip side, obviously they kind of weren't doing the business either. So do you think we're a bit light, or do you think it was a good thing just to let the 4 then get out there?
It's good to get him going. I know we've spoken, like, the whole Pochettino rebuild thing, we're finally doing it somehow. I think the quality's gone up, the quantity's gone down. Like, it's a shallow squad now, in a sense. Like, 1 or 2 injuries, they may be in trouble. But at the end of the day, we talk about Canada, we look at Canada soccer right now, we look at culture, we look at identity. I'm sure Conte would rather have 4 guys and a couple kids that are 100% bought in than have 10, 11, 12 guys hanging around that you can't really rely on. You don't know if you can play them. And on the financial side, they're racking in, I think, those 4 guys that left would have cost 29, 30 mil for the rest of the season. So yeah, I think we are light squad wise, especially with a couple cup competitions still to go, or cup and league, one of them. But I'd rather get the change moving and get the Deadwood out. So
yeah, the thing for me though is that the spectre of them is still there. Like, they haven't actually gone, because they've all gone out on loan. So like, I just feel like the Brian Gill one was, I think, puzzled me a little bit, because I thought that he was, you know, I think would have done him good to be around the squad. I think send him back to Spain, he's not going to learn anything. That's
the thing. The Spain thing gets me. That one, he needs English experience, whether it's Championship, Premiership, and there's the thing that gets me, there's loads of teams that would have taken him. Like, you've seen the moments of brilliance from him. Like, surely a Norwich could have used him as a bit of flair, or Watford, someone around, even if he's local, another London club to keep him in the UK. Just it's a whole different game, right? I think the Spanish one, maybe it's another homesick scenario. I don't know. I don't want to. Obviously, we don't get the insides, but yeah, that's the only one that's tickled me a little bit. So
Yeah, because I saw that like La Marca or whatever it is, the Spanish newspaper had posted a thing about him like hating it at Tottenham, and then he posted it and going like he actually said like that's not true. So I don't think he was homesick because like Reguilon is there and stuff like that. I for me it would have been cool to see him go to Fulham or to Bournemouth or something like that, have a bit of success, like go up into the Premier League, just kind of have that rest of the season getting used to the rough and tumble of it all. I don't get it, but I'm glad that we didn't sell him because I think he is definitely one for the future. But moving to Delhi, like, were you surprised that we sold him and didn't loan him?
Yeah, I'm surprised for the sense that technically it's 0 million right now, right? Like I think it's a free fee, obviously, until he hits games played, accolades, blah blah blah. Yeah, he's another one. I was a big Delhi fan, like especially. Geez, he was unbelievable in that 2012 season. No, 2012. Yeah, 2012-13 season, I guess it would have been. And that, like the whole Poch era. But geez, I was thinking about it today. So 2019, he really hasn't been himself. We've had these periods of rejuvenation. The Mourinho one probably sticking out the most. But he went from top of the game, England national, and like you brought up earlier on the Amazon documentary, Jose hit it nail on the head. Said if you don't kind of pull your finger out, and you just see him on the sidelines. And I get this is another Beckham thing. He's in the fashion stuff. He's in all the modeling. He's got the earrings. He's got the new haircut everywhere. I get that's a piece of it now, but you don't have someone like this. Isn't a form thing. This is, I think, for him, he needed a move. Obviously, the money isn't great now, but I reckon if Frank gets his form back out for him, we can make that back. I think it climbs up to just under 50 million euros. I think just under it, which is great. Sad to see him go. Obviously, it's a nostalgic piece with all of his good times and the great memories he's given, but I don't see him fitting in a Conte system anytime soon. And again, going back to that difficult rebuild that Poch spoke about, it's going to have to be done if Tottenham want to move on. So yeah, not nice to see him go. And all the videos are the videos coming on today are nice and emotional and everything, but growing pains, right? So.
Yeah, I think when Poch talked about the rebuild, I don't think Dele Alli was one of the players that he thought about would have to go, but it's been a disaster. Like, as you mentioned, that couple of games at the start of the Mourinho thing, and then he just went off the boil again. And it was like it just seems like nobody was able to get anything out of him. And I understand, like, he's obviously playing, because I think in his going away message, he said thanks a lot to Pochettino and his staff. He didn't mention anybody else. So that kind of told you, I think he didn't like the systems that he was in, but you got to adapt. And that's the thing, is like when Mourinho comes in and when Conte comes in, they're going to have an Italian kind of style. Like Mourinho's got really Italian style of the way he plays football.
Yep.
So you got to adapt. It's the modern game. It's just, you can't just be a one-dimensional player all the time. So I was really sad too. Like some of the videos were like ridiculous,
Yeah, lots of onions being cut that day. I think systems wise, like I spoke about earlier on, like the Pochettino system was special. Like they had the balance between the fullbacks flying up and down, the two at the time probably top 10, top 5 centre backs in the world, 2 holding midfielders that not many guys are getting by. Eriksen, one of the most creative time players in the world at the period, and obviously young Kane, Son, Lamella coming off the bench, Delhi in that free role. And I think the system, again, not taking anything away from that system, helped him big time. But there's not many coaches and teams that I think play with a player that can have that freedom. And I think the Premier League, even like you said, that in the last couple of seasons has changed that. There's not many free roamers left. Every team has to have, like, the game's become such transition driven. The athleticism has been climbing like mad in the league. And I don't think a player like Delhi, unless he becomes a false 9 where you probably could do it, there's not many systems where you can kind of freely move. So I think that Poch one definitely helped him out. Whether Frank's going to change it, and I know they brought in Van der Beek as well, and they've already got that kind of, I know Frank's obviously the way he had it at Chelsea with Mount kind of in that free role, maybe he could do it. But yeah, I think like you said, that change to a more defensive, work rate, demanding kind of all-round team style didn't help him out. So
I just wonder, like, like just speaking of Everton really quickly, like Lampard, he can't really go in and have the same system he had at Chelsea because like they're in a relegation dogfight because Newcastle have like spent 100 and something million. So they're going, and Norwich have pulled a couple of good results together too. So I mean, they brought in 2 really creative guys, which I get, but like it's their defensive frailty that's the problem, and I don't think Donny van de Beek and Dele Alli are going to be the guys that are going to be like making crunching tackles in midfield and stuff like that. So I just wonder, like, if Frank's even going to give him that role, because he's going to have to play. Like, I can't see him like being wide open. So I'm surprised that we let him go. Like on like, I know that Everton had to do some financial jiggery pokery because they're in going to be in breach of financial fair play pretty soon. But I just thought we would have let him go on loan, trying to get his thing back together, and then just, you know, try and get rid of him in the summer if that didn't work out. I just, you know,
back to Poch even. I thought that would have been a thing. Get him to PSG, like the slower league, you know, back to in a team that you don't have to defend really, and back in a coach that he knows, right? I thought that, and that wasn't even on the table. I think that may even tell you a bit more, right? Maybe Poch knows what's going on. Maybe he knows like he needs another step down. Maybe he wants to stay in England. I don't know. But yeah, no, it's the Everton one again. I didn't even think it made sense. I thought there was better options for him. But yeah, no, it's sad, and you know, especially for someone that was playing at a World Cup at 21, scoring goals and qualifiers and everything. But yeah, I
think that's just the nostalgia part of me, like, because the worst thing for me would be to see him go off and play really well somewhere else, and it's like knowing like that he was like, I always thought he was going to be like Tottenham until he retired, but hey, that's it. I guess that's football now. So just looking at the transfer window, and if you follow any Tottenham accounts on Twitter or whatever, it hasn't been a happy camp. There was like, I think 30 people showed up for protests outside Spurs Lodge, and like we're shouting for Daniel Levy to go and stuff like that. But like, how frustrating has it been? Like I mean, we're part of like a group chat with Nova Scotia Spurs, and even in there, like, I mean, like we're all like pissing and moaning, and it's like Daniel Levy does it to us every time. So like, why does he leave everything so late? Like, does he think that like he's Donald Trump and he's like, I can make any deal in the world kind of thing? Like, what do you think is the reason behind what he's trying to do?
Oh God, gotta be careful with how I say this, but yeah, no, it's a strange one. I was sitting in bed yesterday and I have a little stack of old magazines and stuff, books and everything, and I found an old match program from, I think it was an old one. Ledley was on the front. And I remember I just flipped, I don't know when I got that, flipped it open, and it was a little chairman's message in the front. It was saying how we want to make this football club, like we want to invest, we're so enthusiastic, like we want to build the best team. I'm like, and that was at least 12, 15 years ago. And I'm thinking, okay, like he's a businessman. We know that. And we know his initial kind of approach when he came in. But it just makes me think, we all know he doesn't really care about the club. He's in a sense of what's going on the pitch. He wants to see the checks and the bounces and all that stuff going on. So I think for me, I think it is that a Trump kind of approach. He just wants to have that big businessman persona about it. They're never going to be in a rush. Like, we know the money that's in the club. You can find all the data online. Like they've made some of the most money they have, even with the stadium, out of the whole league. The cash is there. They're building hotels. When last I was back in 2019 and just getting off at White Hart Lane Station, like, it's ridiculous the amount of development that's going up around it. Hotels, cinemas, like the whole place has been gentrified, we'll even say. Like, you would never picture it to the old ground. So I think we all know like his side of it and what he's hired. At the end of the day, he's working for ENIC and the money, making the money, not necessarily bringing the trophies. But they said, come to the stadium, you got to fill it nice with the furniture and the players and everything. But for him, the money could have been spent, and I get fooled every single window by it, and I'll get fooled like in the summertime as well when we get linked with all these 100 million players. But we know that hopes are going to get hopes up, and he's just going to keep playing it. It's frustrating. I know, like you said, in the group, I think, and across social media, everyone's got the same sentiments, and the protests are going to happen, and people are going to boo. But comes with this new stadium, you're also getting the tourists. So if 10,000 real supporters don't show up, 10,000 tourists are going to show up. So at the end of the day, to him, it doesn't matter. So it's sad, but yeah, it's the way it is, I guess.
It just feels like the stadium is like obviously it's beautiful and like it's the envy of every other team, but it's like I just feel like we're killing ourselves off the back of it. You know, it's like as you said, like it's basically like the business now is the stadium. The club is kind of like secondary to what the stadium and the peripheral, like the ancillaries that come with that. Like, whereas like, you know, like the hotels and property development, like talking about apartments and whatever shit he was going on about the other day. Like, I just feel really like it's just so heartbreaking to see that
it's betrayal.
Yeah, like we've fucked, like he's fucked us over, like, so, like, you know, we had like, I mean, my friend's a Liverpool fan, and we were talking like when Pochettino and Klopp were kind of around the same time, and the changes that Klopp was allowed to make in 2 or 3 years of his time there, like the squad just completely changed, and we literally had the same squad 3 years later.
Still do.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're like, you know, we've got so many hangers on at the club. But at the same time, though, we haven't invested properly, and I feel like Daniel Levy is still living off the Van de Vaart deal, and he's like, I brought in this spectacular player for us, blah 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 blah. But I mean, like, that's 10 years ago, and we haven't had anybody since. Like, how many transfers have we actually, like, you would look at and go, that's been a fantastic deal for us? Like there's not, like Sanchez costs us like a good bit of money, but he's been ropey to say the least. You know, like we brought in, Son was a good investment, but that was a punt, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was risk. That you never knew that was going to happen. That wasn't a high name necessarily, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if you ask a question, and I always use this against my Chelsea fans, like, we built £1 billion stadium. They put the same amount of money in the squad, right? Like, yeah, they have a tin can, Stamford Bridge, and it's not as nice as it could be. And they could have a White Hart Lane like we have now, but they put the money where the mouth is. They put it on the pitch. They gave the manager the money. They went and won everything. And I think if you asked any Tottenham fan, would you rather this beautiful spaceship stadium that the pints pour themselves and the seats are heated, or would you rather have given 200 million to Poch? And I think we'd all know how most people answer that one, right? And I think that's what it comes down to me, is it just signifies they don't really give a monkeys about that. They want to build the club, they want to build the name, make the money, and then just hope, like you said, with the Suns, with the Dele Allis, the 5 million players, with you look at even in the squad now, like big names that they really brought in. Højbjerg was Southampton captain, like cool, like not really much. Sanchez, like you said, was a big money, but wasn't proven, hadn't really done it outside of the Dutch league. Lucas Moura was kind of a failing PSG player. Obviously, we love him now and everything, but there hasn't been that, like you said, that Van der Vaart, or even anyone coming in the Gascoigne days, the Hoddle days, like that hasn't happened since Enoch's been in, right? And I think the fans want change, and when does it happen is a question. So
I feel like it's going to get ugly. Like, I mean, like we've seen like the Everton fans, like, you know, I was talking to my buddy who runs the Everton Nova Scotia thing like last week, Dave Robinson, and he was saying, like, he can't fault the owner because he's put the money in. He's just put it in all the wrong places. Like he's given, like, he's brought on poor managers who have like spent a load of money, whereas we've had okayish managers and a really great manager, and we have a really good manager now, and we're just not giving them the money to go and do it. Like, I'd love to be in that conversation to hear what Daniel Levy said to Conte to get him to sign when he came on board. Like, I feel like he's blind. He's full of shit.
It's got to be blackmail. Yeah, it's got to be blackmail. Something. And I keep reading all the stuff about him leaving if he doesn't get back in the summer and everything. But like, I want to believe Conte. I want to believe his passion. I want to believe. But now when I hear him start saying it takes 2-3 years to rebuild, it's like, my friend, you've signed a 2-year contract. Like, let's just speed this up. And we like it's the fact that we have the money and we could do it. It's just we can't be asked to do it. That's what just gets me. And it's one of the biggest clubs in the world, right? And then people want to say sleeping giant and things like that. Well, giants die of old age eventually, right? So.
And like, that's the thing though, like obviously it's difficult to win trophies because Manchester United have proved it, but they've put the money in though, you know, like the money they've spent on players like is like ridiculous. I think they've spent more than Man City and Chelsea in the last couple of years, trying to catch up. So I know the Man United fans hate the Glazers, but like at least they put money into the squad. We haven't. Like, I just feel like, you know, like we spent 10 million on Jack Clark, and like I think the kid's played 4 games for us, and you can tell.
I never will.
Yeah, I like he's not, and that was just another Dele Alli punt. That's all it is. It's kind of sad. Like, I mean, just looking at this window alone, like, I mean, like we've kind of been made to look foolish. I thought, like, I mean, like the Traore one, like Diaz was such a slap in the face. Like, you know, like, do you think that do you think these guys were always destined to go somewhere else? Or like, did we just set it up for Liverpool and Barcelona to swoop in?
Yeah, I think that's a tough one. I think the more I read into the Diaz one as well, it seemed like I know Fabrizio made a couple comments about it, saying the finances were never the problem. Like it was the deal was always agreed between us and Porto, and even the Traore one. But it just seemed like the players wanted other direction. Do I blame them? No. If I'm Diaz, would I rather go to Liverpool and probably win something this season? Yeah. If I'm Traore, do I want to go back to Spain? Yeah, probably. But at the same time, I think the club used it as a smokescreen to keep the fans happy. Oh, we're linked with A, B, C, D, and even the non-league player that they wanted to get from Lewis, like Arsenal fan, mugged off Kane, and then he's the one that turned it down because we wouldn't pay him. So I think it's that stuff that pisses me off. Even the Dylan Markandé, the under 23 player, leading goal scorer in under 23s, scoring for fun, coming back from injury, has said he's a lifelong Spurs fan, wants to play his whole career with Tottenham, and then we sell him for, I think it was 500k to Blackburn, 750k. Like, what's the point? And that's the stuff that pisses me off. But like you said, I've been trying to keep positive my whole life with this bloody team. But at the end of the day, it's things. You hope things have to change, but who knows what tomorrow holds.
Yeah, I mean, like it was just like one like uppercut after another. Like the Traore one, like we went in with like 15 million, which like although he's got like not long left on his contract, was an insult to Wolves. The fact that they would still keep talking to us was amazing to me. The Diaz one, like there was like I think at one stage it was a 10 million difference, and I just feel like had we gone in and like negotiate properly, like the way like a proper club does, like Liverpool, there was no talk of Liverpool trying to cheapskate it, and it's always we're trying to cheapskate it, and I think that all stems from Daniel Levy, like thinking that he's the yeah, and yeah. It's like it's embarrassing the club, you know. It's I really don't understand it. Like I know we were linked with Morata, like which I thought was bullshit. Like I never thought that was going to happen. But yeah, so I mean, like overall, like we still seem to be short in the positions that we needed. So you're Conte, Harry Kane and Son get injured. What's your plan?
We're still trying to replace Bale. We're still trying to replace Bale's replacement, which was Lamella. We're still then trying to replace Bale again. Like we haven't done what they need to do. I think you look at even before Harry came along, they needed a centre forward, right? They had Soldado, they had Adebayor, they had these guys that they were never good enough. They were lucky and struck gold that Harry came through the academy. So they never had to spend the money. Once again, he gets injured, which he does on an annual basis. What happens then? Son's injured now. What they say is back. But if those two are out, like it's Bergwein. Yeah, we like him. He's promising. We want him to stick around. Is he going to replace those goals? No. Do we need a backup? Yeah. Like you look at Liverpool. They didn't need Diaz, but does he supplement them and help them get to the next level? 100%. You look at Chelsea. They've got £300 million of strikers on the bench. They sold Tammy Abraham because they didn't need him. He was surplus, right? So I think if the big thing with me is if we want to compete with these clubs, we have to do the same as them. So even like Morata, we're linked with someone like Morata, and even the two new signings, I don't want to tarnish them with this one, but if he's not good enough for one of these top teams, he shouldn't be good enough for us, right? And that's my mentality with it. But like you said, it's what do they do if that happens? Every year I keep thinking they have to help him, they have to back him, they have to replace them, but clearly once again we've been told not. So
it just scares me. Like I mean, like I just mentioned there, like Diaz coming into Liverpool, like they already had Jota. Like I mean, like they've got like such like, you know, like Salah and Mane go off to the African Cup of Nations. Mm-hmm. They struggled for the first game, and then everything just kind of set itself, and everything was hunky dory. Like that's the thing for me is that like had we lost 3 or 4 players, we'd be fucked because there's nobody on the bench. Like I think like when the last bench we had like Dane Scarlett on there, and we had like somebody else from the academy,
Harvey White and those guys. Yeah,
and it's promising, but like what a toxic atmosphere to have to come into, like when the team's been booed off the pitch because they haven't been playing well. And it's I think what needs to happen is that like Tottenham fans need to stand up a little bit more, and I think we need to have those protests where it's like, as you said, you get the tourists in, but the hardcore fans are always going to be there, and it's them that's suffering. You know, it's like I think the only other team that's had probably a worse win than us is Arsenal, like which
is fantastic. 100%.
Like seeing Aubameyang like just turned up at the Barcelona with the hope of a deal coming through. Was like, who was it? I think it was with Harry Redknapp. Somebody, was it Peter?
Yeah. Yeah. I remember the exact one. Yep.
That's literally what's happened there. He's just like turned up in the hope that
showed up. Someone's happening. I was creasing. Someone made like a comparable timeline video with that, and that would have been nice. I would have liked that. No, but it's. I think it's you talk about that sense even when it comes to the personnel, but. Again, I'm going to relate this to the whole Canadian scene right now. You look at cultures of teams, you look at Liverpool, right? They lose Salah Mane if they bring in Jota, they bring in Harvey White, they bring in Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. Liverpool play the same way. It's the same system. You take someone out, you put if it's Origi for Firmino, if it's Gomez for Van Dijk, if it's Henderson for Fabinho, it's the exact same system, exact same team. A lot like I witnessed with the Canadian team the other night. It was not necessarily formations, the same system, but the principles, the identity. You knew that was a Canadian team. Same thing with Liverpool. You know it's a Liverpool team. Where I think if we lose Harry, there's no like for like. There's no one can do that role. You lose. I don't want to say Doherty. You lose Emerson. You bring Doherty in, not like for like. There's no kind of culture and identity with the club. Where I think even if you personnel aside, you could do this with academy players. That's what Liverpool do. That's what Man City have done. I'm not going to say Chelsea because they haven't, but even Arsenal, I know we make fun. Like Arteta has an identity with them. It might not be successful all the time, but they're using kids. They're not using the big names. They've dumped the big names, right? And I think that's what Conte needs to get to. Whereas if Bentancur gets injured, Skip can go in and do the same thing. Son can do the same thing as Lucas Moura. I think that's where they need to get to. And that's the problem is one hasn't been the players where you can drop someone, put them in. But the second piece is there isn't a culture with the team. Well, I would say culture. There isn't a style and identity with the team where it's people are on the same page. Like you said, players coming in, like a young academy kid, you don't want to be coming in right now because it's tense. It's not organized. It's not where it needs to be. So
do you think our academy is also like a problem for us? Because as you mentioned there, like Liverpool, like they just trust these kids when they come in, and I think as well they're probably around the first team an awful lot, and those junior teams probably play a very similar system to what the first team use. But like with us, like we don't seem to have a history anymore of like bringing through like players like from the academy. Like you look at, as you mentioned there with Liverpool, like Nico Williams, they've got like Nat Phillips, they've got like even Trent Alexander-Arnold came in, he was the exact same. So like do you think our academy needs a lot of work too?
Yeah, I think if you look at what in my kind of professional position I'm in now, I've been doing lots of reading on kind of club development, academy development, player kind of promotion, all that kind of academy type kind of pieces. And when Paul Mitchell left Tottenham a couple of years ago, that one went under the radar big time. I think he went Monaco maybe. I think he has some links with Man City and Monaco. I don't know where he is now, but he was the one absolutely running the academy system when it was both Harry's, when it was Skip. The young kids coming in, like even you look at Alfie Whiteman, backup keeper, like that kind of generation of academy players, the U23s now that are kind of failing at the end of their careers, but the academy was flying. And I know that in the local area anyway, the smaller clubs around it, whether it's, I know I was reading some the other day saying Dagenham and Redbridge, Stevenage, like these academies now are getting the development levels they need that they can compete with the likes of Tottenham, which to me just baffles me. Like these kids are choosing being a scholar at Stevenage instead of being a scholar at Tottenham, right? And it's because I think the academy system is failing. I know Paul Mitchell was a big name, and when he left, it kind of disrupted things. Most people wouldn't see that from the outside unless you're really, really looking in. But I think, from ground up, like we haven't. I know Harry's obviously a golden boy, but outside of Kane, there hasn't been really many academy players that come and done it. Troy Parrott, obviously, I think he's back with Milton Keynes now, or is he? Yeah, I know Wimbledon and Milton Keynes, one of them. He's with them. Yeah, he's young. He come off injuries and everything. I know he's done it well for Ireland as well, but he hasn't really done what he was supposed to, like Harry was. Winksy, love him. Is he really a top product that kind of could be a game changer? No, not really. Skip, I think he could be. I like him. I rate him. I think he's a golden boy. But outside of that, the academy, for the money, look at the facilities they have now. It's not where it needs to be. And going back to that whole culture and identity thing, the academy system doesn't seem like players can come straight out and go back in. Under Mourinho and Nuno, even under Conte, the kids that are on the bench, when they're coming on, they're not really doing anything, and that's a shame to see, because the Liverpool ones is the opposite. That you get excited when they bring those kids on, right?
Yeah.
So it's in my mind it's failing, but you could have win always hides failure, right? Like if we have 3 of these kids that come through and start next season, we'll say the academy is a success. So it's a tough one to say, but it's geez, this whole thing was supposed to cheer us up, but yeah, I know. It's not great, but again, who knows? 18 months down the road, we could be saying the complete opposite. Right?
Just to me, like, not to be Debbie Downer again, sorry, but it's
like
you know, like there's always like a rumor of a player. Like I remember when Marcus Edwards was in the academy and was kind of getting towards, and Josh Newman and stuff like that. There's so much buzz around them, you know, but there's nobody really that stands out. You don't hear those rumors anymore. Whereas with Liverpool, there's always like a little bit of a, you know, this kid's incredible, and then he comes on and it's kind of odd. And I think it's as well, like it's us too. We want success, like we're hungry for trophies, and if they start throwing kids in, it's probably going to be like toxic too, that we're like, why the hell you bring on kids? We need more established players. But Ollie, it's been miserable talking to you. I appreciate you making me like very, very sad. But just I guess the big question, do you think we can still make the top 4 by the end of the season?
Yes, in the sense that I still think the teams around us, there's many other teams outside Chelsea, Liverpool, Man City. I think they've got top 3 obviously nailed down. Chelsea, I know they've absolutely bopped us this past month, but I still think they're shaky in a sense, and we're close to them when it comes to games in hand, so we could still even put a chase on them. Man U, obviously they've got problems of their own, bigger problems the last couple of days, and I think the other clubs around us, I don't think they pose too much of a threat. So fingers crossed. But I look at the likes of Brighton. I look at the likes of Wolves right now. Like I see them putting a charge for it as well. It just depends who cocks up the least. We'll say that.
Well, man, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I really appreciate you coming on. We also have a new supporters club here in Nova Scotia too. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited to get out and watch a couple of games with. I never thought I'd meet other Tottenham fans here in Canada, so thank you.
No, I appreciate. Thanks for having me. And like I said, it'd be good to pull everyone when I see the Tottenham kits walking around Halifax into one room.
Folks, please. Right, folks, please. Time to drink up, folks. Get out. Out to fuck.